him out, to figure out that wild rhythm and movement that he has?
Yeah, it was the game plan. We stuck to the game plan. It was flatten them tires. I think people are not used to seeing me kick. And that first round, that's how I wasn't even headhunting. I knew that the head would eventually come. But the plan from the beginning was to take his legs out. Take his mobility, and then eventually the hands would come. I told you guys that he wouldn't go past 3 rounds, and I delivered once again.
The clash of heads, things were going well for you, right? And then you have the clash of heads. Fortunately, it didn't stop the fight, but it looked, that could have been something that really distracted you. It did look like for a minute you got a little bit frustrated. So can you talk about that moment of kind of what you were thinking and how you get your mind back into, I got to move forward?
It's crazy. Every time I go through adversity, for some reason, man, like it's like my best friend, and I mean that. Because it gave me like a certain edge, because I knew that if that cut continues to keep getting bigger and I continue to keep leaking blood like that they're going to stop the fight. And, it gave me a little bit of rage too afterward. I'm just like, man, even though it was a headbutt, I'm just like, man, I got to go out there and I got to be able to steal or win that round, because that second round, it was a little iffy for me.
The stoppage, obviously it's not your job to make a call, it's the referees, but what did you see from your position? Did you feel like it was a good stop?
Man, every time I stopped somebody or I beat somebody, it was too soon. He didn't win the fight. Jesus! It was a perfect stoppage, man. I was hammering some. He started going limp. He wasn't getting up, and as you guys know, Dominick, he'll ground beat and he'll do certain things to get up, and the ref did his job.
And then, of course, you shocked us all with the retirement speech. I don't think any of us were expecting that tonight. Give me an idea, kind of how long you've been considering this. When you came to this decision to walk away right now.
Yeah, but I talked to my mentor, Dave Zowan, especially after my shoulder surgery. I had that time off, and man, I love freedom. This is why you guys saw me at a lot of UFC events. Like, I enjoy that stuff. Since I was 11 years old, I probably have about 600 competitions of wrestling matches in my life. That's all I've ever done, man. Like, I don't have kids. I finally got a girl now. But it's been, I wanna step into that new chapter in my life. I've been extremely selfish, rightfully so, to obtain what I've obtained. Can I say it again, guys? Olympic champ, flyweight champ, and bantamweight champion in the world, and I defended my both titles. And man, I want to leave on top. I did it in wrestling, and I want to do it now in the sport of mixed martial arts. And I just don't see myself coming back, man. I want to remain king forever.
The last thing for me, it sounds like an earnest retirement, and it's been all about an hour that you've gotten to enjoy it so far. But
feel old already.
Is there anything that would make you reconsider? If Danny comes to you and says, "Wait a minute, let's fatten up this check a little bit. All the cringe is working. People are buying into the king of cringe. We need you around."
Yeah, he knows the number. He knows the number, and but let all these other bantamweights kill each other. Let them have fun. If they're complaining that I'm picking fights and doing all that, look at my resume, man. They can say whatever the hell you guys want, but I've done everything. And I do feel like I should be part of Mount Rushmore when it comes to the combat sports. In combat sports, I do feel like I'm the greatest combat athlete of all time, what I've accomplished. In wrestling, I wasn't the greatest wrestler, Olympic champion, but I wasn't the greatest to say, hey, he's the greatest wrestler of all time. I'm not the greatest fighter of all time, but when you mix my resume and what I've done, I do believe I'm on top of that mountain, and I do sincerely believe that I am the greatest combat athlete of all time, and I do want to leave on top.
Henry, look, I think everyone who's been involved in MMA knows that retirements don't usually stay retirements, and online, I think, probably dealing with the shock of you retiring, there's a lot of people saying that this is a renegotiation ploy. Is it something to do with renegotiations? Do you feel undervalued by the company, or is this really the end and you really do just want to walk away?
I really do want to walk away, but like I said, man, money talks. But I'm happy with the UFC. I want to say thank you to Uncle Dana, Hunter Campbell. They take care of me, but I'm ready to start that new chapter in my life. As a Mexican American that comes from Mexican descent, and I nephews that are 27 years old at 25. I already have a kid, you know, and I got about 12 nieces and nephews, and I want to start that new chapter in my life, and you know, I could never do that as a kid that was raised by a single mother. I could never fight and try to raise a family because I know what it takes, man, and I know that I'm very selfish to myself. Like I said, rightfully so. So, you know,
What was
that's it, and it's not a plot, man. When I walked away from wrestling, I completely walked away, never looked back. And I rarely even went to a wrestling room, and I almost feel the same way with mixed martial arts. And wrestling was my first love.
What was Dana White's reaction?
I don't know, man. At first he was kind of like, do what's best for you. But he's like, shit. You know, we lost a good one. But, you know, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate everything that the company has done. I would never want to, you know, bad talk them because they give an opportunity financially. And I'm just looking forward to getting into business, to getting into real estate. There's so many layers to Triple C that you know, I don't even know who I am. Like I love certain traits. I love to do certain things, and I'm like a bird, man. I love to fly. I love to experience new things. I'm a conqueror. I'm cringy. I'm corny. I'm cringy. But I'm a champ too.
If so, the title now gets vacant. If you were the UFC, who are the two fighters that fight for the bantamweight title now?
No, if I was the UFC, I'd make a tournament. I'd make a 4-bracket tournament. Peter Yan, Aljamain Sterling, Cody Sanhagen, and then I'm thinking of one more. Who? Sterling? Yeah, Sterling. I said Sterling, and maybe Baldo. I'm not sure, but no. I mean, yeah, I think that's fair. Or even Marlon. Throw Marlon up in that mix. Maybe. I don't know, man. That's up to the UFC. But I'm just saying, I just feel like these guys have to kill each other in order to get that belt now. And I don't feel like, as much as they like to complain, Peter, oh my God, Triple C is a piece of shit. He hasn't beat nobody. And I think he needs to fight an Aljamain Sterling or a Cody Sanhagen in order for him to get a title shot. Like, it's not just him because you beat Uriah Faber, dude. Come on. Or Aljamain Sterling, too, for that matter. I think he deserves it probably more than Peter or Petter.
Thanks, Henry.
Henry, straight ahead right here.
Yeah.
Any regrets in your career now that you're hanging up?
No regrets. I ultimately never really saw myself going back down to 125. The fight with Joe even the fight with Joe doesn't bother me. The loss there, because I don't think it's just not worth for me to go back down to 25. I ain't that crazy. I'm surfing at 35.
And then you called yourself a conqueror. What if Vince McMahon shows up and says you'll come on over to the squared circle?
Man, I would love to do an appearance, man, but the stuff that they do at the WWE, shoot, I would love to beat up on Rey Mysterio. He can bend the knee too, and Kurt Angle.
And then one final one, you, of course, from Phoenix, and Dominick is from Tucson. As someone from Arizona, there's a rivalry between those two cities. Does that make this victory even more sweeter?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I don't know if I could live with myself losing to Dominick, you know, and all respect to him. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I even chose Dominick too, it wasn't so much, I remember one time I had called him, and this was because of my mentor. Because I was getting ready to fight Demetrius, and I had called him to ask him for advice, but it was because of my mentor. He's like, just put your pride aside, because I knew how Dominick was. So I called him, and he was like, oh, that's very humble of you, you know, and he just kind of started rambling on, and then I was like, well, that was pretty cool, you know, we had a conversation. Then I saw him again, and this time we saw him in a van, and he kind of just shitted on me a little bit. At first I was like, maybe I'm a little too sensitive. And then I just thought about it. It just reminisced in my mind. And I'm just like, man, this dude was really, he was kind of a prick about it. And I says, since that day I wanted to fight Dominick. So it really had not so much to do with the legendary status, because I chose Aldo for that, but unfortunately he couldn't fight. But it was more of that kind of tugged me, that made me want to fight him again. That made me want to fight him because of that. You know, because I am, even though I do say a lot of things, even though I do talk a lot of stuff, man, deep down inside, man, I'm a good person. And you know, if you guys don't like it, then I saved the division. I saved the flyweight division. I defended my flyweight title. I defended my bantamweight title. Man, I can die in peace, guys. And I deserve this, man. I deserve to leave on top with 2 belts. And there's no flyweight champion because that flyweight champion is right here.
Henry, when you walked into the ring tonight, did you know that win or lose, you were going to retire?
Yeah, I had already talked to my mentor. What I had originally thought, I was going to fight Aldo, and then I wanted to beat the greatest flyweight, bantamweight, and then featherweight and just call it. But just going through the process of what I'm doing and cutting weight and doing all that, I'm just like, man, this is the God honest truth, man. It gets stagnant, man. It makes me want to explore different areas, if you know what I mean. You know what I mean? I've been doing this since 11. I'm 33 years old now, and I want to leave on top, man. And I know Cormier, and I think of somebody like Cormier a lot because I knew that if he would have beat Stipe, that he would have just, you know, left the aisle. I mean, it would have been off. You know what I mean? Like, I want to leave on top, man. And I could have left on top too in wrestling at the age of 21 because I started to hate the sport. It's a crazy story, but I just knew that whether I was gonna win the Olympic gold medal or not, I knew that I was done with the sport because I had given everything to that sport, and I pretty much retired. And 3 years later, they convinced me to come back because of the financial side of it, and I ended up coming back. And I almost feel like the same thing here. Like I'm good, man. I know what I'm worth. I know my price, but I don't even think it's financially. I really don't. I just think I'm just so satisfied and just so happy with my career that I think I just want to move on to that next chapter in my life, and that's the baby carriage. One more time.
Does that mean wedding plans are in?
Eventually. I don't want to give too much, but yeah, it's more of that sense, man. I look forward someday to becoming a husband and then eventually a father.
What would you say was the pinnacle of your UFC career?
The pinnacle of my UFC career, man, there's a lot of great ones, but I think it was beating Demetrius Johnson. Even though a lot of you guys probably don't think I won, but I'll take that razor-thin victory because Demetrius Johnson is a very special athlete, a very special mixed martial artist. And if you're to ask Triple C who is the greatest mixed martial artist of all time, it's Demetrius Johnson.
On the scales, what wins, your UFC career or your wrestling career and gold medal?
Oh my God, this is the greatest sport, man. This is the sport that's made me. This is a sport that's made Justin Gaethje. This is a sport that's made Tony Ferguson. This is a sport that's made John Jones. This is a sport that has made Daniel Cormier. And they will all tell you the same thing, man. As precious as these belts are, there is no harder sport than the sport of wrestling.
Triple C, congratulations on the victory and going out on your way on top. A lot of people consider a TJ Dillashaw or Dominick Cruz the greatest bantamweight of all time. Now that you face both of them and beat both of them, in your eyes, which one is more talented?
I don't know, man. I don't think I had enough time for both of them. God, because the TJ fight was so fast, and then Dominic was a bit tricky. But man, I don't know, Shmo. I don't know, but I could say this, man. I am the greatest bantamweight of all time now. I just ripped that title off of both of their hands. So, to me, it really doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't matter, man.
Well, you mentioned Mount Rushmore. You put yourself on it. Who's the
in
other
in the center?
in the center? Who's the other 3 combat sports athletes on your Mount Rushmore?
Man, I would have to put Daniel Cormier as a 2-time Olympian, as a 2-division champ. You know what? I haven't really. Maybe Holly Holmes. I believe she's up there too. And if Kayla Harrison sometime makes it to the UFC and wins a title, I would put her up there. But I haven't really gave that much thought. The only thing I know is that Triple C is the greatest combat sports athlete of all time.
If this is the end for you, you definitely went out in a unique way, one of the best ways in UFC history. What advice would you give Daniel Cormier when he exits, whether or not he faces Stipe Miocic for that trilogy fight?
Well, obviously, I think he's got to win. I don't think. I think his stomach would turn if he doesn't. I would say, and this is some advice that I would tell him because I saw his fight, and I think Daniel needs to learn he needs to learn when to fight and when to compete. And if I was to give him some advice in that fight, is he needs to know when to fight and when to actually compete. So in other words, there's a time to strike, there's a time to hurt somebody, and there's a time where you got to clinch. There's a time where you got to catch that air. You know, it's okay to sacrifice a round. So I would, if that's a certain question that you're telling me, and honestly, I think that's where I strive more than anything. Like, I'll be willing to sacrifice a certain round. I've done it with Marlon Moraes, where I'm like, hey, I lost that round, but I just got to survive it. Come back that second and a completely different fighter. So it's the fighter and the competitor.
And lastly, from me, Triple C, Henry Cejudo is retiring. Is the king of cringe also retiring?
I think so. I think the king of, I want to be normal, man. Like, again, guys, a lot of the props, a lot of the things that I've done in the sport, it started off by saving my division. Like Triple C will always be the messenger, man. Like, I will always be that person to say, hey, man, I'll do it. You know, throw me the Hail Mary. And I've done it, man. And I think a lot of people don't like me. A lot of people are like, man, get somebody to knock him out. But at the same time, they will always respect me for the stuff that I've done in the sport. And that's all I've ever wanted. If I had to sacrifice myself for that, then I'll do that.
Henry, one last one real quick. Was it bittersweet at all that you retired in an empty arena?
No, not really. Not really, because it became more personal as I turned around and I saw Heidi and I saw like a lot of the security team. I said, thank you. You know, I saw Hunter. I was able to conversate with them without hearing a crazy crowd. Like, these are the people that put these events together, and I'm extremely thankful for it. And it's not a money stunt, man, but if we add another zero. But in reality, I'm satisfied and I'm happy with my career, man. This isn't a publicity stunt. This is. You can ask my team. I told them, you know, prior to this, and I told Eric again, and he didn't want me to retire. He's like, no. He's like, call them all out. I was like, no, Eric. I said, this is for me. I I told him in Portuguese. I said, "Vou aposentar." I says, I'm gonna retire, man. And he says, no. He's like, call them all out. He's like, dude, no. I says, I'm out. Captain Cringe. I think he's still a little bitter. And where's that big nose bandit too?
Congratulations, Henry. Great fight tonight. Leading up to the fight, Dom had a very personal attack on you and said that your whole life is boiled down to a chase for medals and belts. That's obviously something that he's trying to characterize your persona, that you don't have an independent persona outside of that chase. Now you have an opportunity to challenge that in retirement. What would you say to that, and will that be, in fact, the challenge for you?
Yeah, listen to this. After I won the Olympics, I went back to school. Literally, I was a kid that forewent my college career. I was recruited by every school in the country to train, to go Division 1, to go to the NCAAs, and I decided to forego that for my Olympic career. But once I was done with the Olympics, I went back to school, man, for 5 years and got my degree. A lot of you guys will probably trip out when I tell you guys, but it's actually in theology. But I did that because I wanted to make sure that a lot of the kids that were looking up to me, that they could see, is like, hey, man, Henry, despite him being a gold medalist, like, hey, he literally went back, man. He went back to school and did it. I mean, I've done a lot of charity work. Ever since I started the Cringe, I stopped just because it's a whole new persona. But man, I've gone to just about every high school you can think of in the state of Arizona, just going out there and sharing my story and doing things of that matter. I mean, I speak 3 different languages. I have a family that loves me. I got friends that'll freaking take it, that'll take a bullet for me. God bless Dominick, man, and I forgive him for a lot of things because I hope they can forgive me too. So if you guys are to really get to know the Triple C, the real person, you'd be like, man, dude, that dude he's cool, man. He's somewhat of a genius, man, because he's got us all fooled.
Congrats on a great career. You did it the right way.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations. I just wanted to say, if this is the last time, what does it mean to be able to do this in a time where UFC really is, I suppose, in the center of the sports world right now? Only game in town, pretty much, and a time where the world's been waiting for something with sports to come back.
Yeah, it's again, man. I'm gonna be a fan now. I'm gonna be entertained now. You guys know how much pressure that I go through too. On top of being a fighter, you go through a lot of pressure. The things that I do prior to me fighting, it's all about promotion, helping the UFC and helping the brand and helping my brand. Guys, what I did up to the fight with Dominick, pulling those pillows out people's faces and kicking them. Dude, I gotta show up. I gotta do that. So I'm looking forward to entertaining now. I'm looking forward to being entertained. I'm looking forward to starting that next chapter in my life. And like, I'm not that type of guy with all due respect, man, I'm not a BJ Penn, man. I'm not these guys that they want to fight forever, man. I'm a conqueror, man, and I mean that. I've done it. I've retired young in wrestling as well, and I'm retiring young in the sport of mixed martial arts. Like, there's not much you can do to kind of pull me out. I know this he's still upset. Look at him. Look at him. Throw the camera on him, John. But it's my life at the end of the day. It's my livelihood. I got to wake up. I got to cut the weight. I got to listen to people's BS at time. Like, dude, there's a lot that goes into camp. But I couldn't do it without my training partners. First of all, my head coach, Captain Eric Alberison. He's been there with me since day one, man. Since I was a 16-year-old kid at the Olympic Training Center. Like, this is the guy that guided me. I mean, introduced me to my first girlfriend. I was actually texting with her. I had no game. Believe it or not, I got some game now. And he's been there for me. He's done a lot for me, and it's been awesome for him to be part of that journey with me. Captain, I love you, man. You are the man. I know we fight a lot, dude, but I respect the shit out of you, man. Thank you, Papa. Thank you, guys. One last thing before I leave. You guys turn on the mics. Can you guys turn it on real quick? I got one last thing before I leave here. I still want to see Ariel Helwani and the Schmo go at it. Please, Dana White, do it for Triple C. Triple C's out.